Hello, my name is Fatih. I'm going to be reading you guys a book today. The book is called The Boy Who Wanted to Cook. So, I am going to get that ready real quick. All right. So, The Boy Who Wanted to Cook. It's by Gloria Wellen and it's illustrated by Steve Adams. So, illustrated means that it is drawn by. So this is a map of Paris, France. This is most likely where the story takes place. A lot of times books do that. So in South France, near the River Tarn, is the little restaurant La Bonne Vache. The Good Cow takes its name from its famous bouffe à la mode, a delicious beef stew. In the kitchen of the restaurant is 10-year-old Pierre. Pierre's father, Monsieur Valcourt, who is both chef and patron of the restaurant, says, Pierre, go and play with your friends. Go fishing, says Pierre's mother. Madame Valcourt bakes the pastries for the restaurant, but Pierre wants to cook. He longs to be a great chef like his father and his grandfather before him. Pierre's father tells him, Pierre, you are too young to cook. Here's the restaurant. As Pierre rides his bicycle under the chestnut trees, he imagines a chestnut souffle. When he passes a wood, he thinks of the little Maurice, the tasty mushrooms that grows there. A pair of goats look to him like a very large goat cheese. On the green leaves of the vineyards, he pictures the delicious escargots, the snails, nibbling away. To Pierre, all the world is one big, beautiful meal. A car stops and the driver calls to Pierre. I'm a stranger to these parts. Can you tell me, young man, where can I find La Bonne Vache? Pierre leans into the car and to give directions to his family's restaurant. On the set next to the man, he glimpses a paper that says inspection form. On the form is the name of the famous company that awards stars to restaurants. If the restaurant is very, very, very good, it receives a star, and people from all over go there to eat. Inspectors test the restaurant by having a meal there, but there is a strict rule that the identity of the inspector must never be revealed. Pierre gives directions to the inspector, who thanks him and drives away. Pierre pedals as fast as he can. Should he tell his mother and father who the inspector is? No, he could tell about the stranger coming to the restaurant, but it would not be honorable to tell who he is. Out of breath, he bursts into the kitchen. Mom, Papa, a stranger's coming to a long distance to eat at our restaurant. Monsieur Valcourt consults the reservations. Oui, there is a name I don't recognize. He slaps his forehead and declares, with so little notice, how are we going to produce a meal worthy of someone who has come a long distance to eat at La Bonne Vache? Impossible. I don't have any wild strawberries to make the famous gâteau fresh. Impossible, says Pierre's mother. Pierre recalls from his history class that the General Napoleon said, he tells his parents, impossible is not French. The mother, the father, and Pierre stand at attention. Together they repeat, impossible is not French. Pierre says, Pierre, his father says, you must go to the village for us. Pierre races on his bicycle to the village, where Pierre tells Madame Farsi, the creme, the special occasion she chooses, she's so silken, and with a such subtle aroma, she weeps pardon. At the butcher shop, Monsieur Camus selects, as he always does, a perfect cut of meat for the bouffe à la mode. Monsieur Moo picks out tiny onions like pearls, potatoes no larger than marbles, lettuces as tender as those rose petals, and hands Pierre a basket of plump snails, but alas, he has no strawberries. Madame Valcourt is close to tears. My gâteau will be nothing without strawberries. Pierre knows a place in the woods and hurries off with his basket. Beneath the ferns is a patch of wild strawberries. Pierre gets on his knees and carefully plucks the tiny berries. What will we have for the fish course? His father asks. The cod that I plan to serve tonight comes from the ocean, miles away. I must have something for our own countryside for the guests. I'll get a trout for you, Papa. Pierre catches a jar full of grasshoppers, takes up his fishing pole, and hurries to the river. He knows all the places where the trout hide, under the shade of the branch that hang over the stream, in the deep holes where the water is cool, in the little riffles that catch the tasty insects. A quarter hour goes by, a half hour, three-quarters of an hour. At last, Pierre feels a tug on his line, a fine trout. On his way across the woods from the river, a miracle occurs. Pierre sees his first Morelis of the season. Rare mushrooms have a delicate perfume to give a magic to any dish. Carefully, Pierre gathers the mushroom. Look, Papa, look what I found for the bouffe à la mode. Very nice, Pierre, but not traditional, as Papa says. We must prepare the bouffe à la mode just as I've prepared it and your grandfather have prepared it. The regular guests are seated at their tables. Madame Brissac is there with her little dog, Miette. Monsieur Delage is having his customary pounding al chocolat. Madame Jupien and Monsieur Jupien, as they always do, are tasting each other's dinners. In the kitchen, the trout is simmering in the coast of the Gili. The lettuces are delicately dressed. The bouffe à la mode is simmering with its little potatoes and onions. The cheese is relaxing, and Pierre's mother is decorating the gâteau with strawberries, but Papa's unhappy. I'm the chef, but I'm also the patron. At a great restaurant, the patron is there to greet the guests, but I dare not leave the bouffe à la mode even for a moment, and your mother is très occupée. Pierre says, Papa, I can watch the bouffe à la mode. His father is about to say, impossible. Instead, he snatches off his touquet and hurries away to don the striped trousers and dinner jacket of a patron. Pierre stands on a chair and stirs, adjusting the fire, so there are only little bubbles, and no big ones, on the kitchen table, the meringues with their delicate perfume. While his mother's back is turned, Pierre snatches the meringues and drops them into the bouffe à la mode. Moments later, his father appears. He mops the perspiration off his face and replaces his toque. The guest is here, he says, snatching up the plate with the towel. His hands at the waiter, comes back, the plate is empty. But when the salad plate returns, there's a tiny leaf no larger than a mouse's ear. Alas, the leaf is a bit whittled, and he has been rejected by the guest. A tragedy, cries Pierre's mother. As Pierre's father ladles out the beef a la mode, he sees the Morelis. His face turns around and writes, "Oh, the horror," he shouts. When Pierre has the courage to creep back to his father, forgives him for the guest's plate with the bouffe à la mode has come back scraped clean, morales and all. The guest has finished the gâteau, Papa says, and is now having his café. As the guests leave La Baronne-Fetch, he summons Monsieur Valcourt and announces to the astounded patron, I'm not merely a guest, sir, I'm an inspector for the company with the stars. He thanks Monsieur Valcourt for the meal and departs. Pierre's mother falls into a swoon. His father falls into a chair. Pierre asks, Did you know our guest was an inspector? Yes, Papa. Although we may never receive a star, Pierre, you were right to keep the secret. I'd rather have a son who has honor than a star. 2 weeks go by without no word from the company with the stars. The wheat was ripened in the field, the raspberries have been picked, the plums have been purpled, and the orchards are already. One morning, Pierre looks out to see the postman approaching, and behind him, the entire village. The postman hands Pierre's father a letter on the envelope, his return address for the famous company with the stars. Everyone crowds around. They assure Pierre's family that it does not matter about the stars. The hands of Pierre's father tremble. He opens the letter and takes out the letter. We awarded you a star, the letter says. When the letter speaks of the delicacy of the gâteau, Pierre's mother blushes with pleasure. But the most complimentary words are saved for the bouffe à la mode. I was especially pleased to see the mushrooms. You and I might grab a sandwich for lunch before hurrying off. It's not like that in France. Even young children are expected to sit down and take the time to enjoy their meal. The preparation of a meal in France, whether in a home or a restaurant, is a challenge and an exciting occasion. Lunches can last, but the shopping preparation as well. So, this was the book, and this is how French kids, are prepare dinner, and they eat their food together. And you could see the moral of the story is that your age should not stop you from doing anything. His parents did not believe that he was a chef, but he put the mushrooms in the stew, and he got their parents the extra star.